Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by the Hard Truth Distilling Company in Brown County, Indiana.
So for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, it's time!
Three on the way. Oh! It went in! It went in! And Indiana wins the ball game!
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni!
Float game for the win! Ayler's gone. Come on, touchdown, Indy! Woo! IU! America! They got a football team now!
It's pretty simple. I win. Google me.
You know that I'm the cream of the crop.
Now, from the Hard Truth Studios, here's Jim Coyle.
Hello, everybody. Welcome aboard to another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Coming to you on this Monday. So glad to have you here aboard. And coming to you from the Hard Truth Studios, Greg Rakestraw, right off the bat with us. Greg, how are you, sir? How was your weekend?
My weekend was good. What about yours?
Well, it was pretty good up until I woke up with a back that didn't want to move, and other than that, it was just glorious.
I can tell people I was an audience of one to Jim maneuvering into his seat to get ready for the show today, and there might need to be a little Hard Truth product in his morning coffee to help a little pain medication, because it seemed like you were laboring a little bit.
It is, it's not fun. I made the stupid mistake of trying to play golf Saturday after I woke up with my back not feeling right. And, buddy, that was the wrong move because whatever was going on to begin with, I make sure I finished it. And it's not smart.
Now, listen, when you tell this story going forward, you were throwing dozens of bags of mulch. You were weed eating your yard. You were doing something. You were chopping a tree down with your bare hands, a la Jimi Hendrix. Don't tell people you got hurt playing golf. That hurt your man card a little bit.
Oh yeah, well, yeah, the back usually a little more understandable, but I agree with you there. Probably should have been doing all of those things, to be honest with you, instead of playing golf. Quite frankly, you're exactly right. It's what I should have been doing, but. Other than that, it was a kind of a quiet weekend, but the Pacers, with their games being spread out now every 3 days, they did play last night. Of course, we'll talk about that, but I'm sure you had what was your weekend like?
So the Indiana Kentucky All-Star games on Saturday night, yesterday. It's hard to believe, unless I choose to work the Brickyard 400, which I just might, the last Sunday in July. And not counting like a Colts training camp practice. My next Sunday gig is the opener of the NFL season. So I now know at least I have some Sundays off. Friday night was Indy 11 women's soccer. Saturday night I got to hang at Gainbridge Fieldhouse 4 days before an NBA Finals game would be there. But much like all of Indiana, I was locked into game number 2 from Oklahoma City last night.
Yeah, and then, of course, the All-Stars you mentioned. I know that the boys got them on a Friday night. What happened on Saturday night?
Boys won by somewhere in the low teens, and you would think as the person in the game I would know it. Here's what I remember. Jim, they were up by 32 and just kind of cruised from there. Malachi Marino did not play on Saturday night. His commitments at Kentucky began on Saturday, so he did play on Friday, which means that Indiana beat Kentucky at their best Friday night and won by 9 on the road. I ended up winning by 13 or 14, I think. There was a last-second 3 that went in for Kentucky, but it was pretty casual in the second half. The Indiana boys get the sweep, and the Kentucky girls get the sweep, which was their first since 2012.
I'm a little surprised the boys should take pride in getting this sweep with or without Malachi Marino on the second game, because they lose to the juniors. So I was kind of curious going into this. I'm like, man, Malachi Moreno's a real deal. But I see that once they took care of business Friday, I'm like, all right, they got this. Luke Ertl, of course, and Braylon Mullins. Indiana pretty strong with those two guys.
Yeah, it's a very good Indiana senior class, even without Trent Sisley, even without Jalen Harrelson. Again, when you've got on that 12-man team, only one was playing at the NAI level. Everybody else is D1. There were Division I kids that did not make the team, which we say think about the boys and girls every year in the state of Indiana at this point. But again, the combination of Mullins, a healthy Mark Zachary, a healthier Brady Kaler, having, Justin Kirby, who is phenomenal, Desmond Briscoe, Trey Singleton, Michael Cooper was really good on Friday, had a solid night on Saturday. Is it the best Indiana team? No, but it's an upper half Indiana team. It's a really good Indiana team. And Jim, this is now in the last 26 years they have played, Indiana is 45-7 against Kentucky.
It's amazing. Amazing. It's just, and there's been talk here and there about canceling this series, and I don't see why. It's just Indiana is just so dominant. And if you want to be accurate or honest, this was not Indiana's full team. I mean, think about the guys that they could have had on this team that played elsewhere in their summer season, and for whether Trent Sisley and Jalen Harrelson, those guys, this could have been a team that was twice as good as what it was.
Those kids made a decision to play elsewhere, so they don't get to play on the team. As simple as that. But again, the great news is the great news is there is still so much depth and quality of talent in Indiana. They took care of business back-to-back nights.
Yeah, and it doesn't probably look any better for them next year either. I think Indiana will be pretty solid then as well. So they've got that going for them, which is great. Other than that, you get to kind of relax a little bit coming. This is the time for that, to be honest with you. Although this is when grassroots basketball starts to get pretty heavy, and the colleges are in summer workouts, whether it's basketball or football and things like that. Soccer is still finishing up, though. How long does the Indy 11 season go?
13 months a year, basically. We were off this weekend because we played in one in Birmingham on Wednesday night. And so that is the last weekend off for the Indy 11 until the end of October. So soccer is a long slog. So the Indy 11 are at home now for 7 of the next 8 Saturdays. It starts with the Pittsburgh Riverhounds coming up Saturday night at the Mike, 7 o'clock downtown. If you wanted to watch the match in the Indy area, Wish TV. If you are wanting to watch the match outside of the Indy area, next 2 matches are on what's called CBS Sports Golazo. So, like, for example, if you have Roku, CBS Sports Golazo is its own channel. You go to the CBS Sports app or CBSSports.com. It is free to watch. No subscriptions required. Most matches in the league are ESPN Plus, and let's face it, most folks have ESPN Plus anyway, but there is a monthly subscription fee that is involved with that. Not the case with CBS Sports. So next 2 weeks are free views if you want to give the Indy 11 a try on a Saturday night.
Well, you might as well. And there's lots of other things there to take in. The ISC Sports Network. What during this time in the summer, what's the ISC Sports Network plugging in? Because you guys have to always be coming up with content, especially when the seasons change, or like the summertime when there's plenty going on, but it's a different time.
Correct. So we do it slows down for us too, which is needed. We always have Query and Schultz every week. We do produce the Indianapolis Indians games. Now, you don't see that on ISC, but that keeps us busy. The Indy 11 women's contest, we do the Indianapolis Alley Cats of Ultimate Frisbee. The soccer team that's really good from your backyard, Jim, Southern Indiana FC. They are 10-0 so far this year. They play Inter Nashville on Saturday night down in New Albany if you want to go check that out. But the pace slows down. But again, we do things from a production standpoint. Like, for example, we had a crew in North Carolina yesterday doing an event called the U.S. Open Championships, which is basically an 8th, 9th, and 10th grade national championship. I did that event down in Rock Hill, South Carolina last year. It was at the tail end. It was the very last AAU event of the season is basically what it was. The calendar now has changed a little bit. So that event was in Bermuda Run, North Carolina yesterday. They're going to do kind of a Western event out in Kansas City 3 weeks from now. So it's kind of like the old British Empire, Jim. The sun never sets on the ISC Sports Network.
Well, I'm telling you because I didn't know some of that, but I specifically did not know about Southern Indiana FC. So what is this, like a step down from the team that they have in Louisville, or a couple of steps?
You nailed it. It's two. And so the best way to describe it, and it's not an apples comparison, but it's close enough. So the Indy 11 and Lou City play in what would be the AAA equivalent of soccer, would be a level below Major League Soccer. There are two leagues that are fully professional. That is the AA equivalent. For example, the team in Lexington played in that league until this year. Now they're in the same league as Indy and Louisville. There is an affiliated league called MLS Next Pro, where most of the teams are two teams or JV teams for teams that are in Major League Soccer. In Southern Indiana takes up what would be the single A level, which is a semi-professional level. There are several guys that have played pro in the past, or guys that are aspiring to play professionally that play for Southern Indiana FC. Their overarching league is called the UPSL, but to wisely save on travel costs, there are several divisions across the country. Southern Indiana plays in a league that has two Indiana teams, a couple of Kentucky teams, primarily Tennessee teams. This is their second year. You play a spring season, you play a fall season, and then you start a regional playoff that turns into a national playoff. Southern Indiana played in the national playoffs, got beaten around a 32 last year. They have one more regular season match, and they will start their divisional playoffs June 28th. And Jim, they train in Corden. They play their home matches on the beautiful varsity turf facility that New Albany has. New Albany High School at Green Valley Elementary School has a 1,000-seat stadium for soccer that's turf, and it's gorgeous. And that's where SIFC plays their home matches.
I was wondering, that was my next question. And it's soccer. I know that for the Louisville team, it's extraordinarily popular there. That's why they built their new stadium a couple of years ago. They were doing very, very well at the baseball park, but it was better. They needed their own stadium because they were filling it. And they deservedly got that. And now to add this, it's amazing to see the popularity of soccer kind of coming around.
And Jim, that's the thing, is you are seeing facilities now for teams that probably won't get to Major League Soccer. And Lou City, as much as it pains me to say this, as being one of their many rivals, they are the best run organization outside of Major League Soccer in the country in terms of a second division or lower operation. That facility is remarkable. And Jim, you are now seeing teams build facilities like that to the tune of 8, 10, 12, 15,000, thinking, all right, there may not be Major League Soccer in our future, but we can make a go at it and make this a profitable enterprise and play at this level. So Lou City is an industry leader, and to give them full credit, last year was the first year they didn't make the conference finals in their existence. Last year was their 10th season. So they have been good from the jump. And so, hat tip to Lou City. They're tough to beat, and they're easy to respect.
It is, and their popularity was good from the beginning. I remember I've told this story before, but I was not I'm not a soccer guy necessarily, but my daughter started playing when she was in elementary school, and then I just became interested just because of that. Remember taking her to a Lou City FC game, and I was stunned by the speed of the game, stunned by how hard these guys ran. All because I'm sitting there watching the game. Kylie couldn't care less. Her and the other kids are eating popcorn, and I'm like, and I'm doing this. I wanted her to, get a little. That couldn't care, but I was just in. I'm like, wow. And it gave me the best understanding yet of what it's really like. And then, of course, covering IU, I get to cover IU soccer, and I love watching them play. It is fun. It really is. Now, and especially now that I know at least a little bit more about it. That's key. But it's it can be a fun game if you're watching teams. I'm not going to probably just turn into a game at any sometime, but if you're watching teams that you like, it's actually can be quite entertaining.
Well, you are welcome to hang in the booth with me anytime for an Indy 11 game this summer, Jim. Would love to have you make the drive up and take it all in.
I would love to do so, brother. I've not been to an Indy 11 game yet, or match. Let me get that correct, too.
I am not that soccer snob that's going to get mad at the terminology. I'm just happy you're talking about the sport, Jim.
Come watch them. Come watch a match on the pitch, baby.
You're getting all the lingo now, buddy.
That's right, buddy. Greg Rakestraw from the ISC Sports Network. Make sure you keep up with Greg and tune into the ISC Sports Network as well. All kinds of stuff going on there. Appreciate you, my friend.
Thanks, buddy.
You have a great one. Greg Rakestraw joining us here on Indiana Sports Speed Radio. Yeah, it's I know that soccer people are always, this, that, and the other thing. It can be fun. It gave me, seeing that game at that level gave me just a respect, a complete respect for these athletes, the guys that play soccer. World Cup soccer ruins it for so many people. And it ruined it for me for a long time because all I saw was flopping and just ridiculousness. But that's not how it is normally played. It damn sure is not how college is played. When I go watch the IU games, they get after it, and it's fun to take in, especially. And then if you have a youngster, then you got to get in there, man. But appreciate everybody jumping on the hotline today. Plenty coming up. Let's see what Mr. Fulton Mraz had a successful weekend. I know he won some medals. He got his biggest news today. He got second place, the silver medal in his 100-meter dash, and then he got third place, the bronze medal in the 200-meter dash at his summer games. So congratulations to Mr. Fulton Mraz of the Special Olympics over there in Terre Haute this weekend. So happy to see that, man. It's great to see. We've got lots more coming up from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios right after these messages. Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemooreSells@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Monday. I hope you had a great weekend. A little rain coming in over the end of the weekend and right now, but that's okay. Just getting those spring flowers jacked up, right? Alec Lasley will join us in a in a little bit. Was looking through USA Today, I believe. Put out their prediction for the Big Ten football's top 10 win-loss records. And coming in last is Purdue. Projected win-loss record. Now, this I don't get. The FPI projected win-loss record is, it's 3-8. So basically 3-8. Yeah, that sounds about right, which is an upgrade from last year. Improvement. So see how it goes for Barry Odom and the Purdue Boilermakers. He's in a rough spot, but very rough spot. Think about that. You're coming into the Big Ten. You've got teams that have really, like Indiana, that you were way behind, and more importantly, because that affects state recruiting. So we'll see how that works out. Northwestern next, projected to go 3-9, but their FPI projected win-loss is 4-7. We'll see how that works out for them. Michigan State. The good thing is now, let's see. Northwestern not on Indiana's schedule. Purdue is on the Indiana schedule. But next up is Michigan State, also on Indiana's schedule. They're predicted to go 6-6, though. So that's not exactly terrible. And a team that could be a little dangerous at times. Michigan State needs to build momentum somehow, whether it's on the field or the recruiting trail, since the latter is not happening at the moment. Jonathan Smith will need to show significant improvement to reach a bowl game. Yeah, we saw what happened when Indiana went up there last year. I was there, and they trailed for the first time all season. And there was like, wait, what's going on here? And then what happened? Indiana reeled off 47 unanswered points. That was something to see. UCLA projected to go about, 5-6, or that's not right. Or right in that area. 5-6, 6-6. The Badgers wire record prediction, which says 8-4, which that's being generous. But I've got to tell you, UCLA was probably the most improved team in the Big Ten last year. From the beginning of the season to the end, Indiana went out there and got a great win to get their season started. That propelled Indiana. But then UCLA followed that up with a game at LSU in which weren't they tied at the half with LSU or something like that? So improvement there. Plus, they have Indiana's former offensive coordinator, Tino Sunseri. So see about that. Wisconsin next. Things not going great for Luke Fickell up in Madison right now. Predicted to go 6-6 again, which if he gets them into a bowl game, that would, be nice for Wisconsin, but not at all what Wisconsin is accustomed to. And it's something to see, because Luke Fickell had a great run at Cincinnati, and then he goes to Wisconsin, and you're like, oh, wow, that should be better yet. Didn't happen. 6-6. We'll see how that works out. Scarlet Knights of Rutgers also up next. This Badgers wire, I don't know what the hell that is. The FBI projected win-loss is about 6-6. We'll see how they end up. Rutgers has it's tough when you're Maryland, Rutgers. Maryland lost a lot. Hell, they lost a running back to Indiana. Predicted to go about 6-6 this year, 5-7, somewhere in that category. Mike Lasley might need a bowl eligible season to keep his job. Yeah, it's not gone well. It's just they've been treading water for the most part. And how hard can it's got to be really hard for Maryland in a conference like the Big Ten, man. They're just, I don't see Maryland as they're not a football school, but neither was Indiana. But they've had some success under Loxley, but he has an opportunity this year to go to a bowl. We'll see what happens. Iowa also projected in the kind of in the middle there, 6-5, 7-4. They could probably go anywhere from 7-4 to 6-6, somewhere along at IU schedule as well. And so that's going to be very interesting because IU plays at Iowa, and Indiana has the opportunity to really make a name for themselves at the start of the season. I've talked about this a lot. They have those 3 non-con games that everybody has, your warm-up games. And then they start with Illinois at home. And Illinois is going to be a tough team. Illinois is probably is expected to be better than, I haven't even gotten to them on this list yet, but they're expected to be better than Iowa. It's a home game, so it'll be a great crowd, a great time. But if I expect Indiana to get that win, if they could go to Iowa, get a road win at a solid team like Iowa, that's going to open up some eyes a little bit for people. Then they follow it to Oregon. But if they could open up 5-0 and go 5 and even go 5-1 in that first half of the season, I think that they can also do the same in the second half of the season. There's no reason that they can't go 5-1 in both halves of the season. And I'm telling you, a 10-2 mark I think it gets them back to the CFP. I really do. That Illinois game is going to be a linchpin. That is the game to start things. And then there'll be other important games. I mean, that's a 3-game stretch there, the toughest 3-game stretch they'll have of the season. But we'll see. Iowa, as I just said, now right in front of them, the Illini, Illinois, they're predicted to go 7-4. So solid team. I would agree with that because I think they lose to Indiana personally. I don't know their overall schedule, but I'm sure it has a few harder games than that on there as well. But I think that Indiana beats Illinois, but Illinois is going to be a good team, and they're not. I don't see them making the CFP, but I see them going to a good bowl game. Minnesota expected to be just as good there, 7-4, 7-5 rather, something like that. That means you're a team that could go 8, but it's hard. Predicting these teams right now is almost ridiculous. I am willing to predict Indiana just because I know what they have or not. But the rest of these, although Indiana, they're projected the Badgers wire record prediction has them at 6-6. That's funny, kind of weird. And then Nebraska's in front of Indiana. So weird stuff, weird and wacky stuff, man. Alec Lasley from the Hoosier.com joining us now. Alec, I was just going through a list from USA Today that has, all the football predictions and whatnot, and just kind of agree, disagree. You've got at the top, you've got Ohio State, Penn State, Oregon, Michigan, of course. Those are the top 4. Then USC. And USC, the recruiting has been outstanding for them. So we'll see what changes for them. Then they have Nebraska, and I'm like, why? What has Nebraska done that makes them jump up? Oh, so just because their quarterback is a year older, I'm not sure about that. But we'll find out. They're not on Indiana's schedule this season, but I think Indiana, you better watch. I think that they could sneak back to the CFP, man. 10-2 is not out of reach for them. The Illinois and Iowa games, to me, are the 2 linchpin games because if they win both of those, you weren't here with us, I said they go 5-1 in that first half. There's no reason they can't go 5-1 in the second half of the season. 10-2 gets them back in to the CFP, in my opinion, because that will have a road win over Iowa. But it might depend on how they play at Penn State and at Oregon, because people still have this thought of Indiana in their head, these national guys.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, those are, the 2 games that I think a lot of people obviously have circled. for obvious reasons, especially that Illinois game. But obviously, Iowa's always a difficult place to play. Iowa's obviously a difficult team to beat, regardless of how good or bad that offense is. That defense is always going to show up. So for Indiana, right, those are by far the two teams that in two games that you circle on that calendar. I think the biggest thing is making sure that they just do the business that they can on those other games, right? Because if they do drop that Illinois game, it's not the end of the road, right?
Yeah, I would just losing a home game, never good. Never good. That would be something that would hurt Indiana, I think. But they didn't lose a home game last year, right? That's right. Yeah, well, they went 11-1, so they only lost at Ohio State. Alec, I think he froze here a little bit. We'll get him back here in a second, but when he rejoins us. Yeah, Indiana had a great home record last year, and I think that they have to have that again this year. They're with their schedule there, UCLA, Michigan State, Wisconsin, Illinois, plus the non-con games. Those 4 conference games, those are wins that you got to get. And Alec rejoining us there. How are you, brother?
Good. Yeah, sorry about that. But yeah, no, I agree. I think the biggest thing though is, right, I mean, you have obviously the Illinois game that we were just talking about, but I think even if you lose that, obviously I know you were saying, home game never anything that you want to lose, but the good part of that is, right, at Iowa, at Oregon, you still have at Penn State, right? Those are all games where if you win one of those, that offsets that home loss. And who knows what's going to happen with Oregon this year? Going to be a vastly different team. Stewart, their star wide receivers, most likely out for the whole season. That just came out last week. So there's still a lot of question marks. But those first 3 games in Big Ten play are going to show us what Indiana is going to be. If you go 2-1 in that stretch, those are 2 very quality wins that a lot of teams aren't going to have through that portion of the season, right? And then you look
if they
at
go 2-1 in that stretch, then it's on for Indiana. They'll buy. I think if you go 2-1, then these guys are buying Indiana, especially if you cannot have a home loss, I don't think. But getting Iowa may not be as good as we think. I don't know, because they've got a quarterback now that can throw the ball, which we're not accustomed to seeing that at Iowa. Not sure how much they will still throw the ball, but they have a guy that can do it. So we'll see how that works out. But getting a win at a place like Iowa or Oregon would be just something that these national people could not put down. It's like, all right, you all have crapped on Indiana long enough. What do you got now?
Yeah, and I think that's why, regardless of what team Iowa's going to be, I think that's a game where if you're able to win that, again, that is a program that does not lose at home, right? It doesn't matter who you are. If you go into Iowa and you beat Iowa, that is one of the most difficult places to play in the Big Ten, if not, anywhere around the country, right? Just with that crowd, with that environment, and again, with that tough defense, game in and game out. So I think if you're able to do that, again, kind of regardless of if you lose that Illinois game, that will still keep the momentum going, and that'll flip the script a little bit, because, look, Indiana obviously did everything they needed to do last year at home, but they struggled on the road, right? I mean, obviously they lose to Ohio State, they lose to Notre Dame, and those were the 2 notable games on their schedule. So they need to win away from home against a quality opponent. Most of those quote unquote quality opponents came to Bloomington last year. So you didn't get that true sense of what this team's really built like on the road from that perspective against a top level, program in the conference. But I think, right, regardless of what happens in those first couple of weeks, those kind of final 2 out of the last 3 games, right? You go at Penn State, at home against Wisconsin, and then obviously finish with Purdue. But the Penn State Wisconsin games, I think that Wisconsin game is going to be a little bit more tricky than what people are probably giving Wisconsin credit for at this point. Again, we're only in the second week of June, so a lot of time to happen before we get to that game there at the end of November. But if you do drop, one or two games right earlier in the season, that's going to put a lot of pressure on this team to, if they are still trying to fight for a playoff spot at that point, that's going to put a lot of pressure on that game sandwiched between a Purdue and Penn State game. I think that's another game that I would circle on my calendar from a sense of not something that's like a must win per se, right? But one of these games that I think could be a little sneakier towards the back half of the season, especially, all depending on kind of what you do. But if you lose one or two of those first three games, I think that's a game that becomes a lot more difficult and a lot more important from obviously an Indiana perspective.
Yeah, but I think that, and I think that Indiana is much more prepared this season than they were a year ago. Not that they weren't prepared, obviously, when you go do what they did. And I'm still sick and tired of hearing about the schedule because you know what? This was a team that was 3-9 the year before, and so they played the games that were on their schedule A, and they had the two teams that played in the damn national championship game the year before. They weren't, you can't help Michigan wasn't quite what they were, but yet Michigan is the team that beat Ohio State right before the national playoffs, in which they went and then destroyed the Tennessee team. So it's a lot going on there. I'd like to get to. The Bison will have I was trying to pull up a video. I love to pull up a video of someone riding a bison. I'd love to see Alec riding, when they kick off a game, see somebody riding in a bike. Yeah. Get up. Someone just
I think people would love to see you on the Bison.
Oh, well, I'd do it. I got news for you. I promise you.
Exactly. Everyone knows you would do it. I think that's why they want to see it.
I would do it in a heartbeat. I wish I could download one of these videos, but I don't know how you get stuff that's like on social media. But I'm watching right now. At a rodeo, they've got this is at some Pioneer Days in 2022 out west, but dude riding a buffalo and bucking a little bit, not bucking like a bull though. To get some videos downloaded of a guy riding a buffalo. That's a great segment. Just a guy riding a buffalo. Let me take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk hoops as another offer out by Indiana. And Charlie Hughes is coming up, in a couple of weeks?
2 weeks. Yep.
Weeks. Yeah, we'll talk about that as well. Alec Lasley from the Hoosier.com is with us. We're back with more from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios right after these messages. Know a team or group needing a fundraiser? Boost Fundraising raises more money faster and offers the most unique and user-friendly online fundraiser in the nation. Your team receives personalized fundraising pages for each team member. Free team-branded promo gifts shipped to each donor. Boost Fundraising does it all. Sports teams, marching bands, charity causes, and community groups. Go to boostfundraising.com and be sure to enter the promo code COYLE, that's COYLE, to receive a discounted fundraiser. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth Sour Mash Bourbons, Sweet Mash, and Hard Road Ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Monday. Hope your weekend was good. And Alec Lasley joining us from the Hoosier.com. Make sure you go to the Hoosier.com. If you don't have a subscription, you're missing out on the most and best information regarding Indiana recruiting news and all of that. $1 for the first month, 50% off for the first year, and it is the content is amazing. How much information you guys are doing an incredible job, Alec, with the constant stories and the great coverage. Things like this weekend, another offer on the side of Indiana men's basketball is Isaiah Hill from the 2027 class, one of the best in the country, a rim protector. Talk more about this guy, although he is he's 2 years away.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's one of the better players in the state. It's one of the better rim protectors in the country, and one of the better front court players in the country in the 2027 class. Plays at Pike. He was at the team camp the first of 2 weekends last weekend. Then they obviously have another team camp coming this weekend. So really, really talented overall player. He's a lanky, super athletic center. He's not a true back to the basket guy, but a terrific rim protector, a terrific rebounder, a terrific athlete. Super big lob threat. He started to kind of range out a little bit to the 3-point shot, but that's not something that's truly in his game at this point. Definitely more of a defensive oriented player, a guy who still needs to work on some things offensively, but someone who has a ton of potential. He's averaging 3.9 blocks a game this spring on the Nike EYBL circuit. So a guy who's going to disrupt any sort of offensive flow there at the rim, and does so being able to switch out on perimeter players because of his length, and he has some pretty decent footwork. But a guy who is known for his defense first. That's where his calling card is. And it's interesting because we look at how Darren DeVries has really built his rosters up to this point, and it's without a true rim protector. And obviously we've talked about this now multiple times, the lack of size and the lack of true rim protection from their front court players. He's never really had anyone like this, and obviously still a few years away and still a lot of development to go through his game. But Isaiah Hill is a guy who stands apart from the rest of the centers so far in the 2027 class from that aspect of it, because you just can't find a better rim protector at this point, and he's dominated many games from a defensive perspective, and to do that on the AAU side of things is a lot more difficult than in the high school game, and he's been able to do that game in and game out, multiple 3-4 block shot games. He had a 7 block shot game earlier during the live evaluation period as well, and multiple above 4 blocks. So you can just see the ability that he has to do this consistently, game in and game out. Super efficient there from that defensive perspective. Gets his hands on a lot of loose balls as well from just a steals perspective too. So that's where he makes his money there on the defensive side of things. Still needs to be a little bit more efficient around the rim though, just because he's not super strong and super physical up to this point, but has a lot of really good touch, and that length is something that you just can't teach, and that's what he has.
Yeah, and you mentioned not your typical back to the basket guy. I don't think you're gonna see that in Darren DeVries' offense anyway going forward. I think that even his bigs are going to be guys that are athletic and mobile. And you mentioned that the long range shooting is not a big part of Hill's game just yet. He's got 2 more years of high school to work on that, and then to continue to work on that when he gets to college. So that is something, if he's able to add that, that's what makes a guy like that so hard to get. That's part of the reason why Indiana probably didn't land a guy like this in Darren DeVries' first team, because they're hard to get, they're expensive now, and there's few of them out there. So this is the kind of guy that I think you're going to see on a Darren DeVries team, in addition to the fact that it says, in the article and on 3 and at the Hoosier.com, that Hill was one of the first in-state prospects that Darren DeVries and his staff made a target for them since DeVries was announced as head coach back there, the Pike High School product.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, Darren DeVries has made this known, especially with the connections that the Drew Adam has in the state, right? They want to prioritize landing the top kids in Indiana, and they want to get back to that. In addition to obviously the other recruiting ties that they have around the country, but being able to lock up the state, which Indiana's obviously lost to Purdue here over the last 6-7 years. That's something that they really want to get back to, and prioritizing a lot of these 2027, even 2028 kids already is something that they're really starting to do between Isaiah Hill, obviously Jason Gardner. You have Noah Washington in the 2028 class. So there's a lot of guys that Indiana is really starting to focus on from a high level national perspective, but are still Indiana kids. That is going to really help the relationships if they're able to land one or two of these guys, obviously moving forward, to really help the relationships that I think are a little bit shattered from the kind of grassroots perspective between the previous coaching staff and what this coaching staff is trying to accomplish. So they're doing all the right things from that standpoint, and they're making sure that they are out in front of kids early and often. In these recruitments, and early and often from a head coaching perspective, with Darren DeVries being involved in a lot of these recruitments as well, in a lot of these conversations, and just visible to these kids. And that's one thing that is obviously widely known and widely discussed from Mike Woodson, and the difference between that staff and this staff right now. Is just how active Darren DeVries is, and you're seeing that in these 2027 and 2028 conversations with how consistent he is and how visible he is from that certain aspect.
Yeah, a ton. They've made a number of offers already, getting out and getting after. That's one thing I've said, that once they got the staff and the team put together to for the most part, they just attacked recruiting. And so we've seen a number of offers go out by Indiana, and these are offers to all high-level players, a mixture of in-state guys and national guys, where they are going after the best that they can get. Which I know that under Mike Woodson, there was a lot of offers that got thrown out to the top players in the country, but it just felt like that was a hollow offer. It was just here's an offer. There was no, really getting after it. They get after these guys. They are recruiting these guys and establishing relationship with these players, which is going to ultimately make a huge difference in the players that wind up in Bloomington.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, they, talking to a few people around this staff and this program now, since it made the change to Darren DeVries, is the big thing that they want to focus on is making this Indiana offer exclusive again, right? I mean, we saw what the previous staff did, and I think they had to do that to start, in a sense, because of how limited the Archie Miller tenure and era was in terms of offering kids, especially from a national perspective. And that's one thing that they've tried to change over the last, couple of weeks, is they're going to go after kids that they know that they have a really, really good shot at landing, all based off of relationships, get that in through the assistant coaches, and then have Darren DeVries, put in the work to be able to land them. And obviously we've seen what's happened with all the transfers that have come in. A lot of that starts with assistant coaches having these relationships, whether it's through knowing these guys from the AAU cycle, whether it's knowing them from certain geographical regions, right? But it all starts with these assistant coaches. But they're not going to be able to take the next step unless the head coach gets involved, and that's where Darren DeVries is really taking on a lot of that responsibility, because he knows that in order to change the culture and in order to change this program and make it a winning program again, he needs to be able to build that culture and set that foundation. And that's why it's so important for these first 2 years from a recruiting aspect to get those kids in that you really, really want and really, really need from a cultural standpoint to be able to make that shift. Because we've seen now, we have a pretty good idea of the type of player that Darren DeVries is going after. But it's more specific than just the skill set, because he's very, very intent on getting the right person in there, and then making sure that the skill set fits. Because if the personality and the overall culture is shattered of the team, then nothing's going to matter outside of that. And that's why it's so important to him to be involved in these relationships and in conversations early on, to be able to weed out and decide which direction he really wants to go in, and then be able to put in, full 100% effort into, which recruitments he thinks they have the best shot of landing.
One of the top players in the Northeast, Sammy Jackson, number one ranked player out of state of Pennsylvania, which big because we're talking Philadelphia, which is a big basketball area. But 6'7" wing Sammy Jackson from Roman Catholic High School in Philadelphia, speaking of which, has narrowed his choices down to 4 schools: St. Joe's, the hometown school, VCU, Texas, and Indiana. So Indiana already on the clock because there's a decision coming from him just a few weeks away, the 25th, which whatever today is, today the 9th, so just a little over 2 weeks, his decision is coming forward.
Yeah, no, absolutely. He'll be on campus this week, so it'll be the second official visit out of his 4. He'll end with Texas, which is right before he makes that announcement. So it's a big weekend for Indiana from that sense. Obviously, being able to get him on campus, being able to potentially lock down one of the bigger risers here in the 2026 class early on this summer, right before the second live evaluation period gets going. That's critical before you get into to July, where a lot of recruitment seem to really blow up from a national sense when you get Peach Jam and you get obviously Adidas. 3SSB, the finals, where a lot of coaches then see kids for maybe the second or third time and then go full head in there. But that's why it's so important to start landing kids in June. If you can get off to a really, really clean, good start, that obviously sets you up where now they can start recruiting for you, where now you kind of know what your class is going to look like from kind of the backbone sense of it, and skill set sense of it. But he's a 6'7", can play point guard, can play multiple spots on the perimeter. A lot of people don't really know a lot about him just because he, isn't one of the more nationally well-known players, but had a phenomenal week, not this past week, but the previous one at the Pangos All-American camp, and is a guy who's starting to really make a name for himself because of his versatility, because of his playmaking ability, and because of his shooting ability. So he has all 3 things that Indiana really wants from a skill perspective, and a pretty good relationship with what the coaching staff is at the moment.
Yeah, other offers he turned down: Villanova, Arizona State, Vanderbilt, Auburn, Penn State, Pitt, and others. So they bid out some good schools to get the top 4, but we'll find out that. Buddy, I appreciate you as always. We'll see you on Friday, and get prepared for what's coming up next.
Appreciate it, Jim. Have a good one.
Thank you. Alec Lasley from thehoosier.com joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios. Back with more. Dustin Dopirak will join us later, right after this.
If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today.
Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth Sour Mash Bourbons, Sweet Mash, and Hard Road Ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular Toasted Coconut Rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive.
When it comes to apparel and promotions, Freethink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. Freethink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. Freethink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what Freethink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com. Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Monday. So happy to have you. Dustin Dopirak from the Indy Star joining us now, the beat writer for the Indiana Pacers, as he was off this weekend. Zach was down there. We talked to Zach on Friday. I told him to go out and get some Whataburger, and so I expect you will be going back if they they most likely they'll be going back. So I charge you with getting some Whataburger and just for me so I can enjoy it vicariously.
Vicariously. Okay. They have them in Oklahoma? I have not seen them in Oklahoma.
What, are you kidding me? Oh, my God.
They're a Texas
thing.
I wasn't sure.
Texas, Oklahoma is where it blew up. Okay. Then it went throughout the South there. But
sometimes you draw a line at the border and they don't let them get past.
Well, especially with Texas and Oklahoma, the Red River Band, it stops things. I get it. I understand that. But they were bought out a few years ago by a Chicago
conglomerate
that was supposed to start growing them. And I know there's one in Nashville, I think. I don't know where else they are. I know that there's not one here, is all I know. And it's all I care about. Man, I love me some but one of the things I loved is the spicy ketchup. I have found some spicy ketchup. Health Kroger now has spicy ketchup. So
there you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
We were having a little, well, I wasn't, but the crowd, the commenters were having fun with trying to come up with names for the potential Bison. It looks like Indiana's bringing the Bison back, which
it looks like you've seen the whole thing.
Well, yeah, but until I
think they're just calling them Hoosier the Bison, aren't they?
Probably, but yeah,
looks that way.
The funny thing is,
what's that? Go ahead.
Here's what I was going to say. Indiana has spent a lifetime of answering questions of what the hell is a Hoosier. Sure. So now everybody's going to ask, what the hell does a Bison have to do with Indiana?
Which is way easier to explain because it's on the state seal and it was a state animal.
I get that.
That's so much faster. You don't have to get into stuff.
But just saying it's on the state seal, they're going to say, well, why? And then we'll say, well, they used to roam here, but that means they also used to roam in Illinois and wherever you want to go across as west. Hell, I don't know where they
claim Lincoln for 3 different states. So I mean, you can claim the Bison, so they're doing it. I mean, this is a product. This is very much a product.
Yeah, I mean,
this is very much a project of people we know. This is the thing. The people that have driven this are people we know personally.
Yes,
this is a Galen Clavio joint, a Jeremy Gray joint. It was a Fred Glass joint. Fred had some intrigue years ago, I think, for the Bison.
I don't mind it. I've got to be honest. I don't mind it. I've just kind of laughed because I'm like, they spent a lifetime trying to explain what the hell a Hoosier is.
Right. I mean, now you don't have to go back to random poetry, poet entrances in newspapers from the 1800s to kind of figure out where the origin of this is. There's at least the state seal, and there's some things you can point to, and you've had the Bison as the as the mascot, for Knicks, for how long? I mean, if you've been getting,
I will say this: and I've said this before, when you're driving around the state, you will see Bison a lot, fake Bison, yard. There's one at the Beef House when you stop there on the way out of Illinois. Hell, I've seen them in Bedford. They're everywhere. They're all over the place. So they have obviously had they're entrenched in the Indiana history.
I just don't think that people, even Indiana people, realize it that much.
Sure. I mean, they probably don't, but I mean, I think this will, it'll force it. I mean, it's, going to be a guy walking around in a costume and there'll at least be some level of discussion in it, but they'll have fun with it anyway. It's going to sell a whole bunch of gear. I thought, I watched a podcast with Jeremy to get a sense of what this was going for. And first off, also, I thought Jeremy was hilarious. By the way, the whole,
in the video,
both of the videos, like he's got two different characters in the videos that I thought were hysterical. Both him as the night watchman at the warehouse or whatever, with his crowbar flip was entertaining, and then him as the zoology professor. What did he call him? Dr. Yeagley, Dr. Yeagley Montgomery McCracken, which just killed me. And was hilarious. And so I thought, but basically it was like, the branding opportunities for this are so much. And like, even the small stuff of just having your guy being able to win in hand-to-hand combat with a turtle, is helpful. Like, this stuff matters. You can sell these things, like you can sell stuffed animals, you can sell t-shirts, you can sell God knows what else, with this thing. It's a whole new branding opportunity. And people who like this thing, I mean, obviously not everybody's going to like it. Some people are going to be like, I don't think you should have done that. But everybody that likes it, that's a whole new piece of gear that they don't have that they're going to buy. They might already have their Indiana shirt and feel like they're covered on their IU gear, but they're like, wait a minute, it's got a Bison. I need something with a Bison on it. And all of a sudden you sell a bunch of t-shirts. But there's branding opportunity, there's marketing opportunity. And it's going to be, people are going to have fun with it. And like, especially starting with, football season, obviously it's going to be a mascot for all sports, but your
football schedule right now, the poster,
the
top has bison horns coming through it.
Makes sense.
So that's probably a tell, saying it's coming because it's just the horns. They didn't show anything else, so waiting to break it out. Ironically, you had one of our past sponsors, Hoosier Hanks, which they have a
bison right there,
gigantic bison that was made. The former owner had it made. I mean, it's 6 foot tall, made out of all kind of steel and whatnot. That'll serve them well. It's where the coaches shows were last year, ironically. But they have a suit all ready to go. They had the candy stripe pants. They made them change that, but yeah, it's I think it's great for kids. As long as he doesn't look like that dude that Indiana had back in the past. I don't know if I still have that, after I may have erased him. He was goofy looking, but as long as he doesn't look like that.
No, you don't want that. You don't want
that. Scares people. But the IU one, I think I might have erased that one. That one was also not good. The one they had back in the 60s, whatever guy that was, he was a little scary. But oh well, you got that going. So nice. But hey, something different. It there's more to talk about that way, I guess, for Indiana. And you know what?
It's talking season, man.
I want him to get a live bison. I want somebody to ride the bison onto the football field for the first game, and I'll do it. I don't mind, baby. I will I've got put my saddle on him.
See, that's not what they need to sign up to do. Like saddling him and riding him is one thing. It's having him live at your house. That's the difference. That is the expense that's a little bit beyond. And he also has to run out on the field. And if he has to go to the bathroom on the field, then someone has to clean that up. There is a cleanup measure. Yes, Brian S. That's exactly you must have said that before. So you're way ahead of me on that. But yes, that is a key piece to the entire thing, is being able to house and feed and all those stuff. I mean, there are bison.
Well, there are lots of bison farms, as Jason mentioned. There's one down in Floyd's Knobs.
As I understand it, they have volunteered. As I understand it, I mean Jeremy Gray said this on this podcast. So it is a thing. I'm sure that has been volunteered and whatnot. But it does take a lot. There is a lot that happens. I think a lot that you have to keep in mind. It's a liability, obviously, for when you have live animals. If you have multiple live animals, stuff can go wrong. Uga barely survived the Sugar Bowl with Texas a few years ago. That was there was a moment there where his life had to flash before his eyes because he ran into what is the name of Texas's longhorn steer? Whatever it was. Uga had a moment where it was a little bit, a little bit scary. So all those things make it it's involved. I mean, I know just from I spent some time with Evan Krause, who owns the Butler Bulldog, and basically when Butler the Fourth was born, or Blue the Fourth was introduced a couple years ago when I was still on the Butler beat, and it's just for a dog, it's pretty involved. I know in Tennessee there's a fraternity that houses and takes care of Smokey, and that's like part of their charge as a fraternity.
Bevo.
It takes a lot of Bevo. It takes a lot of involvement to take care of these. Of these creatures, and Maxine has thoughts about this too. Amplify that for what it takes to care of a bison. It's a whole lot. I don't know, Brian S. I have no idea what it takes to insure a bison. So I would think it's an expensive. It is a not small expense that IU decided that at this point it doesn't necessarily need. You got to keep that in NIL money for now. So maybe at some point they're going to take a pocket of that NIL money and devote it to a bison. But we'll for the time being, there is apparently not a they don't apparently need a bison. So,
and Laurie says right, they won't be selling bison burgers in the
you would think you draw the line there. Yes, you would think it's time. You would think it's time to
hey, let me tell you, I love a bison burger. It's one of my favorite.
It's good, but
one of my favorite.
If you're gonna make it your mascot, you shouldn't kill it. It's a great question, Brian. You have to get to Lloyd's to figure it out. They'll insure anything.
Man, that's Well, that'll be fun. At least it'll be something as
sure.
The Indiana football continues to rise up. But the good thing is, if they had him down in Memorial Stadium, he can't get out. There's no. As long as they've got that garage thing pulled down at the other end, he's locked in, baby. He can't go anywhere. That's
that doesn't mean he can't do any damage.
Well, not if you get everybody just jump up over the stands.
Fair.
But I don't know that they've got they've got gates for those two, so he'd stay down there. So they could keep him in there. So they could turn him loose and feed him in there if they wanted to keep him during the week. That would be a lot of cleanup there, man.
But then you would have to play a football game in his presence. There's that too. And there's the other part and practice. And
now, how fun would that be to just have him be tame and turned out, and he can be wherever he wants to be during the game?
I don't know, man. I kind of feel like you can't do that. He's going to at least chase the guys that are out there. That's going to be kind of a natural, even if he's tame enough to not want to. What a hell of a run blocker he would be. That's true. He could bust up a hole. That's for sure. No doubt.
Line him up at fullback. Yes, sir. That'd do it. I just don't know about it, how good of a hooves he's got out of the backfield catching a pass. But
sure.
Oh man, the Pacers they lose last night, and it's not like it's no shock here. They're playing on the road. They're playing the number one team in the NBA, so they finally lose after shocking the NBA and shocking everybody, I think, by stealing game one.
Sure.
I think that still surprised the hell out of a lot of people, and maybe even including Oklahoma City. That I know that you don't take guys lightly, but after what they've had and how their season has gone, they did not expect for the Pacers to come in and steal game one.
No, they didn't. But I think first off, you are dealing with two young teams, and Oklahoma City is Oklahoma City is the youngest team in the league. Like for as good as they, I mean, like it makes what they've done to get here and win 68 games in the regular season more remarkable. They are puppies. This is their first time, but for both of them, obviously this is their first time on the stage. Obviously there's a handful of guys, Alex Caruso for the Thunder and Siakam for the Pacers, that have played real roles in an NBA Finals before. And so, but like, it's not like, oh my God, I can't believe they did this. Like these guys haven't been on this level, like nobody's been on this level. And you could see in both of them, just a lot of jitters. I thought, that especially the first half was extremely jittery. The Pacers turned the ball over 20 times in the first half. I mean, they averaged like 12 and a half a game. They never do that, but it was just, I mean, even Halliburton said, like, I was amped. I was way too amped. I was playing way too fast. I needed to slow down. And I think they were all like that. And so I don't think there was shock. I mean, I think they definitely felt like, wow, like we're, we are the better team. We beat these guys twice in the regular season, and when we were able to play their game and we were able to, like deal with what they do and we responded to it. But in game one, we didn't. Like, so what happened? Like what went wrong with us? Like what were we doing wrong? And so there's a couple answers to that. I mean, I think they didn't do a very good job of capitalizing. This offensive execution wasn't very good. And they also just didn't get really anybody outside of Shea and Lou Dort to score. I mean, basically, some of their other key guys, Jalen Williams didn't have a good game one. Chet Holmgren didn't have a good game one. And, they did a lot of things that they generally do well. They caused a lot of turnovers, got their hand on a lot of balls, made it hard to score in the paint, but I mean, lost some guys for threes and just didn't get a lot done offensively. In game two, they ratcheted up the defense, played even better, made it very, very hard for Halliburton to get to any of his spots. And then they got other guys making shots. That's really the difference from game one to game two. If you're Oklahoma City, is guys who just, basically didn't make a whole lot of impact, especially on the offensive end in game one, made an impact in game two. I think I got to call up the box score here to, I mean, Wiggins and Alex Caruso combined for 9 threes, and that's really a big piece of this whole thing. Caruso goes for 20 points, Wiggins goes for 18. That's really key. Jalen Williams gets going enough, 19 points, got 8 of those from the free throw line, but also had 5 assists, 5 rebounds, playing the kind of game that you expect from him. Chet Holmgren has a really good game, 15 points, 6 rebounds, block, he's +4. You got stuff from other people where in game one you really didn't have a lot, from guys who weren't, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And again, Lou Dort hit some big shots in that game. But a lot of guys who tend to contribute for them, didn't give you a whole lot. Jalen Williams gave you 17 points in that game, but he was 6 of 19. He wasn't particularly efficient. Alex Caruso was 11 on 3 of 8. Wiggins took 2 shots, only had 3 points. He's a guy that gets you 12 a game. So, you needed a lot of that. I mean, so was it a shock? Shock, yeah. But I mean, again, the Thunder they're in a different place than you have to think of other favorites as being, because as good as they are and as historic of a season as they had, and as much as they are a favorite, most of those guys are 25. Most of those guys have not been here before. So it's not like you're dealing with the Chicago Bulls, Jordan team that's been to 4 or 5 of these, like this team, it's getting through this first, they're figuring out what the NBA Finals stage is like at the same time the Pacers are, for as many more games as they won, and as much as they had to sort of be preparing for this moment for much of the season where the Pacers, you knew they were going to be a playoff team, but you weren't thinking finals team with this group really until they get ahead of Cleveland really in that semifinal series. The first time that really seemed real. For this group, Thunder have been preparing for this all year, you would think, but again, you like preparing for it and thinking about it is one thing. Getting there is a totally different ball game, and knowing that it's like 7 games for your season, 7 games for a championship or not. So I do think that the Thunder responded well. I mean, I thought it was interesting to hear Mark Daigneault say, he said the Pacers are an acquired taste, and that I think was a good way to put it. And the Cavaliers never acquired that taste, I thought, and when you're talking about teams that operated at a similar level, a team that won 64 games, like the Cavs came in saying, you can't really practice that pace, and they were kind of, I think, hoping just to get their feet set in it over the course of a series, and they never did. They had one game where they were dominant, but they never really got their just sort of got their flow with it. And the Thunder have in game 2, and that doesn't mean that the Pacers aren't going to adjust. I think the Pacers are going to adjust, and they'll have a better sense of what it's going to take. I thought one thing that one thing that I thought you kept seeing throughout the comments, that they said yesterday was just they kept saying you didn't get in the paint enough, but it's like it's also easier said than done. And I think, obviously people were killing Halliburton as they do whenever he has a quiet night. But I mean, went back and watched some of those, because I didn't have to write last night. But I watched the game and then I went back and watched some of the tape of the shots that he made, and that little kind of burst he had in the fourth quarter. And what you really see is that it took a lot of screening to make that to work. Like it takes a lot of screening and action to get the Thunder out of place enough that you get a paint touch, and it is really, really hard to get the paint against them. But they have some time to draw some stuff up, but I mean, they're going to have to draw up a lot of stuff. They obviously have that in their offense. They're capable of implementing stuff on the fly, so it's not like, it's not like doing this with a college team where you have to fully reconsider how you function. And it's impossible to ask coaches to do that. They're going to be able to come up with a plan, but it is going to have to require a lot because dislodging Lou Dort from Tyrese Halliburton takes a lot. It takes a lot. You have to hit him a couple times to do that. You have to have some well-placed off-the-ball screens at the right time to spring some guys to get loose. But it's going to take a lot. But the Thunder have figured out, gotten a sense of what it takes to keep the Pacers out of the paint. If you keep the Pacers out of the paint, you do slow them down pretty significantly.
Yeah, and no one expected, especially Maxine, for them to go, they're not going to win 2 games. I didn't expect them to win 2 games. I expected Oklahoma City to bounce back. They know they let one slip away, and they know they put themselves in peril because they had to win game 2, just like Indiana needed to win a certain game in
several
series.
games in the last couple of playoffs. Game 6 against the Knicks, game 4. Yes. They had to win their game 4s, basically, because both in Cleveland and the Knicks, they go up 2-0 on the road, and you lose game 3, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, you can't give that right back. You can't take a home court advantage as emphatically as you just did and give it away entirely. And so, it's like, obviously you want to go up 3-0 in the first place, but in both cases they responded in game 4 and took advantage of that series back and went up 3-1, and obviously were able to close it out. So, game 3 becomes a kind of must win for the Pacers because you're going to have, I think game 3 at home in both the first round and the finals, I think is where it's the biggest because, the in-between series, basically it's a big deal. But there's not that sort of starving feeling that you have, for, excuse me, game 3 in the first round of the playoffs. Obviously it's just a big deal. If you played the first 2 games on the road, your fans cannot wait for a playoff game. And then if you haven't been in the finals in a while, like the Pacers haven't, Gainbridge is going to be nuts in game 3, or at least it should be. And so you've got to take advantage of that momentum while it's there. Because if you lose that game, game 4 is still crazy. They'll still show up for you, obviously. But you lose a little bit of juice there if you lose game 3. So you're getting the advantage there. So I think game 3 is it's not a definitive must win. They can lose that, fall behind 2-1, get game 4, and have it be 2-2, and they're okay. Through 4 games, they're all right, but you'd still rather have that. You'd still rather that maintains home court advantage for you, and you can go up 3-1 and force them to play off their backs going back to game 5, rather than it be even game 5 going back to their place. You'd much rather have. So, excuse me. Yes, you absolutely expected the Thunder to respond, but there was a possibility they weren't going to. I think there was. I was watching NBA TV afterward, and Isaiah Thomas pointed out, he's like, the Thunder got to fix a lot of stuff. They've got to get a lot right. He says the Pacers are going to win game 2, and the biggest thing he mentioned was like, Pacers just turned the ball over 20 times and you lost to them. What are you going to do when they don't turn it over? And that was a fair question. And obviously the Thunder had a response. The Pacers did not turn it over nearly as much. Like last night was a lot more normal as far as that was concerned. You still end up with a higher number. The Pacers had 15 turnovers. The Thunder had 14. So those teams are going to they're going to create more and commit more than they usually do because they're both better at that, or create fewer than they usually do and create and commit more than they usually do because both teams are good at creating turnovers and limiting them. So, there's going to be a balance in between that. And last night kind of made sense for where the turnover margin and number is probably going to be. But, again, Thunder did a better job of taking advantage of just the regular possessions they had that weren't turnover created. much better job of making shots was really important. Much better job of limiting shots. Much better job of limiting points in the paint. Did a lot of smart things in that game and just never let the Pacers really get a handle on it. But again, like I said, the Pacers are going to adjust. You give Rick Carlisle 2 days to really dive into the film and say, okay, well, what can you do here? Like, this is the problem. How do you fix it? Well, go find solutions. And the biggest thing is, again, the problem always for dealing with the Thunder is they're just such a good defense. And he just said at the top, he's like, they were the best team in the league at keeping the ball out of the paint. You got to figure out a way to get the ball into the paint against the best team in the league. And what that means is you got to be creative. Like, you can't just drive it at them. You can't just say, I'm gonna, let's just take Halliburton and drive at Lou Dort. That's not going to work. Like, that's not how you get the ball.
You mentioned that, and the TV analyst talked about, their defense, their paint defense last night, and the play in which Tyrese Halliburton was just going in for probably an 8-10. He was just entering the lane, and I forget who it was that reached back.
SGA got it. Yeah, there were like 4 bodies around him, and then
dude, that's the point I wanted to make. Even with him reaching back, he had a guy on him being guarded, but then the other defender reached back and just swiped it from him. But it was the other players that I noticed that were all converging. You saw one picture, and I saw 4 defenders around him, and I'm like, wow, they just smother the paint.
They do. No, and that's how they're built. I mean, they've got a lot of good athletes, guys who really move fast, and they like, the NBA is about making decisions about what you're willing to give up. Like, you have to, like, the offensive players you're dealing with are too good to shut down, and so you can't cover all your bases. You kind of have to decide, all right, what am I willing to give up? And sometimes it's okay. I don't want you to beat me from 3. I'm willing to give up the occasional layup if you don't beat me from 3. And sometimes it's, if you get in the paint, like, that's when you get points in bunches. And, I'm not willing to give that up. I'll let you shoot 3s and I'll live with what you hit. I don't think you're going to beat me from there. And so you make those kind of decisions. And the Thunder have kind of made the decision of, we're stopping paint touches first, and we're going from there. And it's good ball pressure. Guys that are really good on the ball defenders, but it's also rim protection with somebody like Chet. And it's really good help side guys who are good on the ball, but also, good at collapsing and sort of swarming in and being able to close out. But, again, living with it if they don't make it, but they can get you a good closeout because they're long and they've got, they can get up high and get a hand in your face and sort of, even if they're collapsing down in the paint, if the ball swings back outside, they can run fast enough to at least contest, maybe not stop you, but at least contest enough that you're going to notice they were there. So that's, that's kind of how they're built. And they've got all these pieces from Dort, Wallace, Caruso, Williams, plus Holmgren, plus Hartenstein, plus Wiggins. I mean, like, and Shea's not a bad defender. I mean, like, he's the guy you hide out of that group, but he's not a bad defender at all. And he's very good at swiping the ball. I mean, they are so good at getting a hand on a ball clean. I mean, that is a skill. I mean, it is not easy to do that, to slap down with the ball and dislodge it without, cracking somebody's hand in a way you get a foul. Like, that's not easy to do. And the one you mentioned, I mean, Shea just took the ball out of him. That was clean. I mean, he got nothing but basketball there and took it off of him. And they've had so many of those in this series already, where you're just like, how did that ball, how did his hand get there? How did it not make contact with body, or at least enough to make an impact to draw a foul? How did he just get that thing loose? I mean, they've had a lot of those. And again, this was one of the best defenses in recent memory, like in the last, 5 years or so in the NBA. I mean, they were fantastic all season. And so it's going to be a tough group to deal with. They're very good at swarming, the basketball, very good at taking the basketball away from you, good at rim protection. They're not a great rebounding team, and they give up some threes. And so there are soft spots. But you got to shoot the ball really well against them if you're going to beat them. And if you're going to get the ball in the paint, it's going to require some action from you. You're not going to just be able to take it at them and blow by for a layup. There's going to be bodies you're going to have to beat. You're either going to have to finish through contact, or you're going to have to screen really well to dislodge defenders.
Yeah, and that is something that Indiana is going to have to be aware of, and they're going to have to alter their offensive attack. Games 3 and 4 coming up in Indianapolis at Gainbridge. I think that Indiana win this series. I think the Pacers have to win both of those games. Keep home court advantage going. It's not that we haven't seen them do it, but that puts a ton of pressure on you if you don't. But it also puts you up 3 freaking games to 1.
Sure.
Which I know it's not going to be an easy thing, but winning a damn championship is not easy. So I think to win the title, I think they have to win games 3 and 4 at home. Put the pressure on Oklahoma City with another game coming in Indianapolis.
Yeah, no, I mean, you really want to do that, obviously. No, I mean, it'd be a huge deal if they could pull it off. It's not easy. Again, beating them twice in a row. I mean, I don't know how many times this season they've lost twice in a row. Like, I can Google it, but I'm sure it's not. I mean, the answer might be 1. The answer might be 2 over the course of the year. It hasn't been very frequent. I mean, they don't make a ton of mistakes. But I mean, again, you are going to have. I mean, they definitely haven't lost 2 in a row in the playoffs. That hasn't happened. And so it isn't easy, but you have to maintain the pressure. You have to be the team that's on the attack. And you have to play like you play like the team of Dustin. Twice all year. The Thunder lost 2 games in a row. They never lost 3 games in a row, not once in the entirety of this season. 68-14 is pretty impressive stuff. But yeah, no, I mean, they like, it would go a whole long way if they can manage to win 2 games at home. Again, you're going to have the momentum. You got a couple days here to just, to put some things together, to make some adjustments. This isn't Mark Daniel is a terrific coach, but he's young. Rick Carlisle has been around the block a few times. I mean, I think their intellectual level might be
all of the Oklahoma City, the second youngest team in the NBA. Yeah. Obviously, that gives them less playoff experience, but I'm not sure that really matters right now.
Coaching experience.
The Pacers don't exactly have a ton of playoff experience. They have some and more than Oklahoma City, but right now it's man, they've been through enough now. They've been through 3 series. This is for the championship. That no longer matters. But Rick Carlisle, only the second coach or one of 6 coaches to take 2 different franchises to the finals. He knows what it's like.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, he's been around this block so many times, and I think you've really I feel like Pacers fans have finally appreciated what they have in Rick Carlisle over the course of these playoffs. I know he drives them crazy because they're in my mentions, on a constant basis, being like, "Why is Rick doing this? Oh my God, he blew it. Oh my God, this is terrible. Did he throw in the game?" And because his lineups, because he'll take risks, when it comes to lineups, he'll leave, his bench guys on longer than they might think. But, the payoff over the course of these entire playoffs has been the wear down effect. I mean, that's what's got them there. Like, I mean, even if it doesn't work in this series, they don't beat the Thunder, they are in the finals because he played a longer rotation, and wore other teams out with pressure and running the back, just running the floor, pushing the pace on offense. The Cavs, the Knicks, the Bucks, all were exhausted by the time this was done. It was because he plays guys like Ben Shepherd, and he plays guys, like Thomas Bryant, and he plays guys like Tony Bradley, and says, go give me 5 minutes here or 10 minutes here. And he has TJ McConnell, whether he's having a good game or not, stick out there and, just harass people. And that pays off. But like X's and O's stuff, like in terms of just being able to scheme stuff up, Rick's as good as there is. And he has evolved so that he doesn't feel like he has to control everything and make every play a set play. And so he allows them to kind of play this sort of freelance style that they have. But when he's got when you need a baseline out of bounds, you need a sideline out of bounds play. Rick can draw stuff up and, draw one up in the dirt and make it work. Rick is pretty, spectacular with a whiteboard. He's pretty spectacular over the course. When you give him 2 days, and you have a problem to solve, Rick can usually solve it. And he's been through that. Mark Daniel hasn't been through that at this level. Daniel's really good, and he's going to be good. You might talk about him the same way you talk about Rick Carlisle now, and 10 years. It might not even take 2025. He's going to be a really good coach for a really long time. But for now, Carlisle has the advantage of the experience of having been there, of having to go beat the Miami Heat, when they had LeBron, having to beat that team and stuff like that. Rick knows how to do this, and so you give him a couple of days to kind of look at a problem and fix it. He's pretty good. I mean, Rick will tell you there's not there are not weak spots. I mean, people ask, like, well, where are their vulnerabilities? Like, there's not vulnerabilities. Like if you're looking at the Thunder and you're looking for, okay, where's their Achilles heel? You're doing the wrong thing. You have to find a way to create a hole yourself. You have to find a way to move bodies because they're not going to move for you. There's not a guy to pick on where there's been a guy to pick on in other series. Like there's nobody to pick on that Thunder team. Maybe, they've been trying to get Siakam stealing off SGA just because of the size, but SGA is a good defender. So, but he'll figure something out, and you'll see real adjustments in game 3. And I know that because you've seen it at every single series so far. You've seen at least one game that you're like, Rick won that game. Rick won that game on the basis to figure something out.
Yeah, he did an excellent job, and he continues to be a huge point for this still young Indiana Pacers team, which bodes very well going into the future. I mean, they are young, and obviously they have the talent to get to the finals. They've beaten the Thunder on their home floor, so they have the ability to win an NBA championship. And those moments are sometimes fleeting. If you look back through the Pacers' history, man, the Malice at the Palace probably wrecked a great opportunity to win an NBA championship. The Bulls got in the way probably of winning an NBA championship, but there have been.
And the last time they make it, they run into Shaq. That wasn't like
Shaq and Kobe, I think, right?
Yeah, exactly. That was a Lakers team you weren't beating. That was one of those periods where the Lakers were so
with Phil Jackson on top of that.
Yeah, the Lakers were so high above everybody else in the league at that point that it was incredible. Yeah. Like to your point, like you don't know what would have happened if you don't have Michael Jordan in the East. In the early 90s, stuff like that. Not early 90s, early 90s, mid 90s. That whole entire stretch. If you don't have to beat Michael Jordan, do you win? Do you beat the team from the West? You have no idea. But yeah, no, they are fleeting. They're fleeting throughout the history of this, and you're seeing the way the CBA is put together that it's fleeting. I think they, obviously reporting coming out yesterday, from Shams, and I think this has been the general trend, and we had not heard anything different, from the Pacers front office. But the Pacers do intend to re-sign Miles Turner, and they're willing to go into the luxury tax to do it. And they haven't been in the luxury tax 20 years, and it's going to take that. But you're going to at some point you're going to have some decisions to make. Really, this offseason, the big decision they have to make is whether they're going to I'm sure they're willing to extend Benedict Mathurin, but it's just a question of at what. And if you're Benedict Mathurin, the question is, do you look at it and say, look, like I'm never going to be the player that I think I can be, if I have to come off the bench for these guys. And so, I'm sure that, I can make 10, 15 million coming off the bench for these guys, or I can roll the dice and try to get 25, 30 on the open market, per year. And so, or 20 or something like that, and then, go to some place where he can go play ISO ball all day, and, go average 20, 25 a game, and, lead to a bigger payday, stuff like that. There are decisions that are going to have to be made in terms of who you can pay and who you can keep paying. And, there's a couple of those this year. They probably have a reprieve after that. If they do sign Miles, but within a couple of years, you're going to have to make some decisions. And that's how this works, you looked at Boston and think, okay, maybe that's a dynasty. But then, now they go into this summer and Tatum's got an Achilles tendon tear. So he's probably missing most of next year. And you're probably gonna have to make some decisions for some other guys. And all of a sudden your window is gone. You're lucky that you won a title, because, you might not get an opportunity like that, anytime in the near future. It becomes tougher for Denver. They just won one. And, if you're, maybe Oklahoma City has a runway if they don't win it this year. But Cleveland is starting to wonder, if they're going to get their shot or if they got to do something different. So, it is tough the way that this CBA works. It punishes you when you miss your opportunities.
Yeah, it certainly does. Dustin Dopirak from the Indy Star with us. We've got lots more coming up. We'll be back from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios right after these messages from our friends at the Hard Truth Distilling Company.
The ISC Sports Network is your home for sports content across the Hoosier State. Find us live on TV and streaming or archived on our website and our app. The ISC is your one-stop shop for the content you want to see, including high school sports, college sports, and other great events throughout the year. Subscribe to our streaming service and get access to it all. ISC. Local lives here.
Know a team or group needing a fundraiser? Boost Fundraising raises more money faster and offers the most unique and user-friendly online fundraiser in the nation. Your team receives personalized fundraising pages for each team member. Free team-branded promo gifts shipped to each donor. Boost Fundraising does it all. Sports teams, marching bands, charity causes, and community groups. Go to boostfundraising.com and be sure to enter the promo code COYLE, that's C-O-Y-L-E, to receive a discounted fundraiser. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. When it comes to apparel and promotions, Freethink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. Freethink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. Freethink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what Freethink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com. Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Monday, getting your week started right. I hope you had a great weekend. And how was the wedding, by the way?
Fantastic. Congratulations, Jeff and Lindsay. My wife's back there. She did a fantastic job with her best woman speech. She was terrific.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
It was excellent. So really glad I went. You know, just every once in a while you gotta in this business, every once in a while you gotta skip games. You gotta go to stuff more important.
Did she slip any funny, embarrassing things in there? Like
not embarrassing, because like Lindsay Ardoti is not a person that you can embarrass. That is a
right. That's great. That's great.
All the way around. It's not easy to pull that off, but MJ,
you gotta love that. You gotta love that. Yeah. We got to talk to Zach when he was down there, and like I said,
probably down there complaining about me, I imagine.
Nah, I'm sure he did
a great job, though. I was, again, really appreciative to the Ostermans, because I know not just Zach, but Audrey had to take care of the kids, and that's nothing small. So again, my appreciation to the Osterman.
Even for Zach, though, I mean, who covers, everything, has been over, an NBA Finals. That's not something you get to do every day. So
no, it's not.
I'm sure he enjoyed that. I mean, hell, I would have. Just to getting that opportunity, and so he did a great job. You guys always do a great job, and so looking forward to that. Looking forward to the upcoming football season, the college football. I know you don't cover that, but man, the Big Ten is going to be fun again. Indiana is going to be fun again. They're projected. Last year, the over/under from Vegas it came out at like 5.5.
Right.
And I got it at 6. I'm not a big better. I bet the hell out. Well, I should have bet every nickel I own, because when that came out,
you shouldn't bet every nickel you own on anything.
No, but on that I should have, because I knew
you were feeling pretty good about that. I can vouch. That's true.
I said they're going to go 6-0 to start the damn year, and
right,
which they did. And I didn't take advantage of that like I should have. This year, the over/under 8.5. It is right on.
Sure,
it's right on the button, because I see them 8-4 is their basement for me.
Sure.
The ceiling. I shouldn't say their ceiling. I think they can do 10-2. I think they can get to 10-2. I really do. But it's not going to be easy, and they have a schedule where you're not going to have people complaining about the schedule this year, because they open Big Ten play with Illinois at home, but then you have back-to-back road games against Iowa and Oregon. Boom. Yep. Last year, their schedule laid out so perfect. Each game was like a step up. For 12 weeks, it was literally laid out that way. Yep. Not so much this year.
they find out game one of the Big Ten, when the Big Ten play opens after the non-con games, a team that is projected as a potential CFP team in Illinois got all their guys back. Brett Bielema has done a hell of a job there at Illinois and building them back. It's cool to see, though. It's cool to see Illinois good. It's cool to see Indiana good, because these are teams that you don't expect. And what's Oregon going to be like? The great thing is we don't always know because of all the change that happens. And so
it's all like, you obviously just see the helmets and you see the brands and you just presume year over year, just with the same structure, someone's going to be pretty good. But you have no idea, it's like, it's at the end of the day, like you don't know what these teams are going to be like. You don't know, because a lot of cases, you're starting over, and they're all starting over every year. And it's wild. If you really think about it, just the amount of portal guys, it's just the amount of rebuilding you have to do. It is, it has reached the point, obviously, where it's drastically more roster turnover than you see in professional leagues. Like, it is drastically more, not just a little bit. And so you're looking at it and you're saying, okay, well, who's the guys gonna be? Like, you're throwing darts at the wall to even guess who everybody's going to be, and you don't know what transfers are going to find at an entirely different level. Some of these guys are transferring up, some of these guys are transferring down, like some of these guys that are smaller schools, go up in these positions, and sometimes they end up being superstars. Sometimes guys that come from places like, I don't know, Old Dominion, they're playing first, but like I don't think they have anybody from there. But point of the matter, like how many guys came from James Madison, for Indiana and end up being star players. That's it's and you don't know when that's going to work and it isn't. But you can never guess. But you just have to presume, based on what Signetti did in the first year, that he's going to be well built for year two, and he's going to be able to assemble this pretty quickly.
Yeah, I have no doubts about him. I think that this team is going to be better. I've said it all along. I don't know if that leads to a better record because of their schedule, but I think that they are a better team. I think Signetti and staff, you're settled in for a year. You're not coming in and building all that stuff. That's done. Hell, you've already had spring practice, and now you're going into summer workouts with a lot of guys that were here last year. And I know there are some different ones. I think that guys like Fernando Mendoza is going to slip in seamlessly with the offensive weapons that Indiana has. And Indiana could be as good as they were offensively last year under Curtis Rourke.
Yeah.
He was hurt. We don't know when he got hurt. We don't know when he hurt his knee. I would love to know that. He thinks he hurt it early on, and he wasn't mobile, and so that probably did hurt. Fernando has the mobility, and I saw one of the players talk about that at Huber's, saying, Fernando is, Curtis was great. Fernando is great as well. He's a little more quicker than my man Curtis or something like that. So it's going to give another dimension to this offense that they didn't have last year. And I think that's going to be enough to make it even a little more dangerous than they were. So it'll give them a fighting chance when they go on the road at Iowa or Oregon or even Penn State. Penn State is, we think that they're going to be one of the top teams
preseason in the top 5, probably, if they're not.
Much less in the Big Ten. So it's the usual suspects: Ohio State, Michigan, Oregon, UCLA or USC is getting a lot of love
because they're USC. We're going to have that.
And they have to. Lincoln Riley's got to get something done, man.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, no, that's for sure. No doubt about it. But yeah, the brand names are always going to get at the advantage coming in, because you just presume that everybody they're getting must be really good. And like, to your point, if you're USC, like, you're desperate, you can't afford to not be good. And so I don't even know who they have, but I presume that they've invested highly in whoever they got.
Ari Wasserman from On3, I can't wait to get him back on. He picked a new sleeper Big Ten as for each conference. He's got Illinois and Nebraska and Washington, Iowa in the Big Ten, Florida, Oklahoma in the SEC. I don't know how you can call Iowa a sleeper. I mean, they're always a good program. They just need to add something. Washington, now that's a sleeper to me.
Sure.
Illinois is not a sleeper. Hell, they were a CFP. They were generating that talk last year. They won 10 games. So it's kind of hard to be a sleeper when you've got your quarterback back and all that stuff. And Nebraska, they're, some people are picking them over Indiana, where they'll finish. You've got the quarterback that we'll see what he gets done as a sophomore. It's going to be interesting. They're not on Indiana's schedule, luckily. Indiana has Illinois, Washington, and Iowa. No, they don't have Washington on the schedule this year, but Iowa. So interesting. The last time we thought Indiana was going to be great, they opened up at Iowa, and you want to talk about air going out of a balloon.
Yeah.
It was like 10 people had needles and just poked it at the same time because you could see instantly with Michael Penix Jr. What's wrong here, because you could tell he did not look good and didn't perform. But man, Indiana has the opportunity to do it on the road this year. We'll see if they do, brother. What's up next for you?
I get back in the saddle this week. So they're off today, and I'm sure there'll be some kind of media availability tomorrow back in Indiana. And so I've got the finals for the duration, and we roll from there.
We'll look forward to it, man. Let's hope they can get it done in games 3 and 4 coming up at Gainbridge Fieldhouse next up Wednesday night, right?
Yep, Wednesday night. They said there'll probably be some kind of availability tomorrow. Play Wednesday, they play Friday, and then there will be a game 5, and that will be Monday in Oklahoma City. So that's what we know so far. Well, obviously, we know what 6 and 7 are if they happen, but we know those 3 games are going to happen, and so they're coming right quick in succession the rest of this week.
Dustin Dopirak from the Indy Star. Make sure you're giving him a follow and keeping up with all the things that are going on with the Pacers, baby. It's winning. Be a subscriber. Keep local papers alive. Appreciate you, my friend.
Appreciate you.
Absolutely. More coming out from the Hard Truth Distilling Company Studios.
The ISC Sports Network is your home for sports content across the Hoosier State. Find us live on TV and streaming or archived on our website and our app. The ISC is your one-stop shop for the content you want to see, including high school sports, college sports, and other great events throughout the year. Subscribe to our streaming service and get access to it all. ISC. Local lives here.
Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today.
Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth Sour Mash Bourbons, Sweet Mash, and Hard Road Rye, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular Toasted Coconut Rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth.
Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Monday. So glad to have you guys along, and make sure you come back tomorrow as we'll be talking about the $2.8 billion settlement signed on Friday by the judge. So that means schools can now pay athletes directly beginning July 1st. We'll talk with Mike DeCourcy about that, as what that will do, how that would change things, and all the things that come along with that. It happened, they're supposed to start sending these checks out July 1st. So good thing they got this done, and now they can move forward in this. This ends off a bunch of federal lawsuits, but we'll talk more in depth about that tomorrow. Big thanks to Alec Lasley, of course, from thehoosier.com for joining us today. Greg Rakestraw from the ISC Sports Network, and Dustin Dopirak from the Indy Star covering the Pacers. More Pacers coming on Friday as well. We're back tomorrow to do it again. I think Kyler Staley will be with us as well. We'll talk about this weekend's team camp action at IU, in addition to lots more. Until then, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.